Hey, this is John Lee Dumas of Entrepreneur on Fire. And when I'm not interviewing inspiring entrepreneurs, I'm listening to Stephanie O'Brien on the Moved by Purpose podcast.
You need to feed yourself first before you go and help someone else. And no, that's not selfish to do.
Are you longing to know what your purpose is? Are you on the wrong career path? Do you feel like there must be more to life? Don't worry, there's hope. It's time to be moved by purpose. Now your host, Stephanie O'Brien.
Hey, it is Stephanie O'Brien with the Moved by Purpose podcast, and today I am continuing on the series, Master Your Mindset series. Last week, I talked with you about the 5 sneaky mindsets that keep people stuck and how they don't even know it. I revealed and exposed some of those mindsets that keep people limited and small, and said I would talk more in depth about how each of those 5 mindsets tends to have an evil twin closely linked to it that is opposing and opposite of what the other mindset is. So it can kind of make you feel as if you have a split personality and make you feel like you're losing your mind. But nobody's losing their mind, because we're learning how to master your mind and master your mindset. So you are aware of these thought processes and know how to combat them and fight them and take control of your thoughts and get them in line with where you want to go. Even if I'm a person of faith, and not all of you may have the same faith as I do, which is fine, but you can take what I teach you and sift through it if you want, but take the wisdom behind the words, whether you agree with my faith or not. So I believe that there are some unseen forces that we fight against. Some people can call this resistance, opposition. Some people will say it's the enemy, Satan, demons, whatever it is that you want to link to. There is something that seems to, every time we step out to do good, the enemy comes out to meet us. It's like there's almost something that doesn't want us to succeed and take new ground. We're not going to be able to take new ground without a fight. And some people, when the enemy comes out to meet them, that could be resistance, adversity, obstacles, roadblocks, setbacks, they take that as a sign that maybe they need to retreat, or maybe they got it wrong and that they shouldn't be doing what they thought they should be doing. When really, when you are faced with adversity and opposition or resistance, that's actually a sign that you are headed in the right direction. The enemy's threatened by the new ground you're about to take, and he's not going to let you take it without a fight. That's just the truth. So take that as encouragement, not as a sign that you should retreat, but that you need to fight and push through. So to review the 5 mindsets that keep people stuck, and to go further in depth about their opposing evil twins, the ones that I discussed were entitlement, poverty or lack, and I didn't really go that in depth with that one because I was rambling about other things. Fear of success, fear of failure, and fear of rejection. So that should have been, right? Entitlement, poverty, lack, fear of success, fear of failure, fear of rejection. Good. I can count. Good for me. And to recap, a symptom of what an entitlement mindset is someone that we immediately go to thinking that someone with an entitlement mindset is someone that thinks that someone else's hard work should be just given to them or handed to them, that they deserve things that they don't work for. That's kind of what our understanding of entitlement is. But there's another form of entitlement. And I guess to define this most clearly, it's like you mistake privileges for rights. And people with an entitlement mindset think that things are owed to them that are rights, but they're truly just privileges. Now, the sneakier part of an entitlement mindset are people that actually do work really hard and they do what they're supposed to do. They have a job, they're working really hard, And they think that because they're doing what they're supposed to be doing, that they deserve certain things like raises, promotions, bonuses, or whatever. And because you've been at your job for another year, that you deserve more payment or more compensation because you've been there another year and you work hard and you deserve it. When really it's you earn a raise by doing something above and beyond and more significant than just showing up and being there another year. So that's kind of, and in all transparency, I fought this little bugger for a while because I do work very hard and I'm building a business and I'm following the call on my life. And this is how my entitlement was exposed, was like, because I'm following the call in my life, because I'm fulfilling my purpose and helping other people, I'm being obedient. Why should I have to go through adversity? Why should I have to wait to get a reward? I'm working hard, so I deserve my reward now. Or I deserve to be spared of pain and suffering because I'm a child of God and being obedient to Him. And those were kind of the offenses I had to deal with. It's like, yeah, I'm a child of God. That doesn't mean that I'm not going to have trials and tribulations. That doesn't mean that storms don't come. And oftentimes, when you start walking in your purpose and fulfilling the call in your life, you're met with greater adversity. And that the storms that you have to go through are even bigger. So that was a big lesson I had to learn, and I had to get past that entitlement of believing I'll be spared of such things because I'm walking in obedience and doing the right things that God has called me to do. And then getting all mad at Him when things didn't go my way or that things took longer or turned out differently than what I was expecting. So that was just my own journey. Maybe that resonates with you. Or maybe not. Maybe it's just me. But anyway, the opposing evil twin of entitlement is also unworthiness. So symptoms of unworthiness is that you don't feel that you have anything of value to give, or that you don't actually feel like you're worthy of success, gifts, attention, recognition, or good things. So it's kind of like, you're like, how in the world can that exist in the same person or in the same mind? Well, it did, and it does often. It did in my mind, and it's something, because I'm aware of it now, I'm quick to identify when those voices are talking and to expose them, to break its power, and so it doesn't dominate or control my life anymore. But the unworthiness came when I would start seeing success or seeing progress, and then I would instantly think, who am I to think that I can really help them? I don't feel ready. It's like, first thing is like, just give me, without having to work for it. I just want it. And then the second thing is like, oh, I don't feel ready anymore. So when it is given to you, you now start saying, oh, I'm not worthy to have this. And so you begin to sabotage what you've been given, and so you lose it. And it's this nasty little cycle that lives within the same person. So that's entitlement, and its opposite, evil twin, unworthiness. Now, moving on to the next one, poverty and lack. And I did not talk about this that in depth in the first episode, so I'll go a little bit more in depth this one. I honestly could build my business around this mindset alone, because this is a doozy. This is a big, nasty one that people fight. And a poverty or lack mindset is so sneaky. People have no clue that they have it. Because on an intellectual, conscious level, who the heck wants to be poor? Nobody, right? Who wants to go through the struggle of living paycheck to paycheck? Who wants to go through the torment of wondering if you're going to have enough to cover your bills? Nobody. And people that live in poverty or lack absolutely hate it. They resent it. And all they want is to get the heck out of it and to be free from it. It's a curse. But there's signs that show when someone has a poverty mentality, and it's so sneaky. Someone can hate lack, but get so familiar with it and so acquainted with it that they almost wear it as a badge of honor. Like, they almost feel like there's a piety involved with having nothing. You know, they'll exhort Mother Teresa, who lived a life of poverty. And she made a huge difference. They tend to give biblical examples of how the widow that gave everything she had was exalted more than the Pharisees, who were giving significantly more, larger sums of money, but they weren't giving in a sacrificial way. They were withholding what they really truly should have been giving, and they weren't giving cheerfully. They were giving as like a way to boast. And that is really what Jesus in the scriptures was rebuking, was the heart of their giving. And the woman who gave everything she had, Jesus was honoring her heart behind it. He wasn't honoring the poverty. He was honoring the heart of the giver. And it's not the quantity of money that's honored. It's all about the heart. So whether it's little or a lot, it's the heart of the giver. So people will take that story and think, oh, you're more blessed when you have less. And I'm like, God help us all. No, you are not more blessed when you have less. No, that's not a quality of life. Now, some people are called to a life of poverty. That's called voluntary poverty, and there's a special anointing, there's a special grace put on their life that empowers them to live that way without suffering from it. There's not a suffering involved from it. There's an ease and a love, and they're completely unmoved by the lack. And very few people can live like that. Mother Teresa had a special gifting on her life and heart to live like that. Most people resent it. Most people resent it because they don't have that calling, because we're actually meant to be successful and to be thriving and to have our needs exceedingly met, not just met. And here's an example. So there's people that are like, oh, I just want enough to meet my needs. And they really believe that they are humble when they say that, or that they have, like, that's an honorable way. Like, a lot of people are comfortable. They feel like almost like it's super honorable to say, I'm just satisfied with having my needs met. That's all I want, is just to have my basic needs met. That's all I care about. And you almost sound like you're so mighty and wonderful saying that. And then it's a decent heart position to have, but it's extremely self-centered and selfish. I want my needs exceeded. I want abundance. I want to have more than enough, because with the abundance, I'm going to give generously. I'm going to be meeting the needs of people that don't even have their basic needs met. I'm going to be wanting to build wells in countries that don't even have clean water. For me, my heart passion is to fight the evil of human trafficking, specifically sex trafficking. I want to fight that. And you better believe that I use my abundance to fight that. And if I'm just having my needs met, I have nothing left to give. There's nothing left over. So it's not wrong at all to want abundance and to want more, because out of that abundance, you have so much more to fight evil in the world and to do good. You know, now if you want abundance to, oh, I want all of this, to have this mansion and this fancy car, there's really nothing wrong with having nice things, especially when you work really hard for them and that's a reward. But if all you're doing is like working so hard to have the fancy car and the big house and these nice things, that's when you're now influenced by the opposite spirit or the opposite mindset of poverty, and now you're driven by a love of money. But let me go back to this poverty-lack mentality. There's a lot of people that just think it's noble to be poor. They're almost comfortable being poor and having lack than having abundance. And they feel guilty for thriving, for succeeding, for having more than enough. They almost feel a sense of shame or embarrassment for having money. They don't hold on to money when they have it. They're quick to get rid of it through either reckless spending or just giving it away. Here's a tricky example of someone that can be under the influence of a mindset of poverty or lack. There is a story in a book I read of a pastor who did this amazing speech or convention, and this very affluent woman wanted to pay him and wrote him a very large check. And what that pastor did was I think, immediately went to give it to a charity or an organization, a nonprofit organization, and he felt like that was super honorable to do. And he felt like, almost kind of like, like there was a piety involved with giving it away. And there was another friend of his that was also a pastor that found out, and he was like, why would you do that? If that woman wanted that money to go to a charity, she would have written the check to a charity. She wanted that money to go to you. That's why she wrote it to you. And so having this difficulty receiving gifts or money or just good things is a sign of a lack or poverty mindset. And it's so sneaky. You think that it's such an honorable thing to do, is to get rid of it, especially for a good cause. But you got to be careful, because it's very dishonoring when people want to give you money and you don't receive it, or you take it and give it to somebody else. If they wanted somebody else to have it, they would have given it to that person. They want you to have it. Now, if they say, do with it what you want, but like they really want to bless you, they want to see you enjoy it. You know, there are people that I know that I wanted to bless, that I know would have a hard time receiving it, that I say, I flat out had to tell them, go on a date night with your husband. Go buy yourself a nice dress for this night out. Enjoy yourself. Have fun. That's how I want you to spend this gift. And it's amazing how hard that is for them. So anyway, so there's the overview of poverty lack. There's way more symptoms and things involved with it, but that's just an example of the sneakiest part of it and how it can come up. At the same time, the opposing evil twin with poverty lack is greed, or a spirit of mammon, which is basically just the love of money. The love of money. The love of money is the root of all evil. A lot of people totally disregard that it says the love of money, and they just say money is the root of all evil. No, money is amoral. Money has no character at all to it. So people that tend to fight a poverty lack mindset, or maybe even aren't in poverty lack mindset, maybe there are people that have plenty that still have a poverty or lack mindset. And it's just mind-blowing to see that they have plenty in their bank account and more than enough and make a very good living, but still have this fear of not having enough and just kind of count all of their pennies and are just so afraid of losing it all and not having enough to cover the bills. And while there's wisdom in saving and having emergency funds and planning for your future, it's to an extreme level. And that's when the opposing spirit can be at work here. For there's a constant money fixation. Your mind is just always on money. What you don't have, what others do have, what you want, what you don't have, or what seems like you can't have. And then you begin to hate other people for having what you want, what you feel you need, and they have it. And there's a jealousy of other people's success and belongings, and it's just nasty. And all of that just is why we see so much darkness and evil in the world, because these mindsets are all like driving or controlling these people to do what they do. So then you get people that are stingy. So they're not living generous. They're living like they're stingy. They don't want to give. Think of kind of, they're miserly, where they have plenty, but they're not willing to help other people in need because they're just afraid of, they just want to hoard it all to themselves. Then there's idle wealth, which is money that's stagnant, that isn't getting invested, that isn't getting multiplied and increased. Money is supposed to be invested. Money is supposed to be increased. It is not supposed to just sit there and do nothing. That's why in the biblical story of the servants that were given like one, I don't know, each a talent, 1 talent, 5 talent, the one that buried the one, I mean, that's idle wealth. I mean, that's why the master was so angry at him. He's like, you could have at least put it in a bank account where it could earn a minimal interest return instead of burying it in the ground. And so it takes risk to grow your money. So investments do require a little bit of risk. And just like a business is an investment. You're putting money in, you're putting your labor and sweat equity in to grow wealth and to make an impact. I'm driven to make an impact in the world. I'm not driven to have this luxurious lifestyle. Do I believe I will one day? Sure. But the reason I work so hard and risk so much is because I'm driven to make an impact, not to pad my bank account and have it sit there and do nothing. I want it to grow. So, and people that are like in love with money, they have a love for money. There's greed. They can never have enough. That's when you see crimes of embezzlement or stealing. There's just, people are treated really, really poorly. They're used. That's, again, human trafficking is a form of that influence, that mindset, that spirit of mammon or that love of money. They're going to oppress people and strip people of their basic human rights while others prosper, while others, I use that word very poorly, they're not necessarily prospering, but they are profiting, like they're making large amounts of money at the expense of others. That is that spirit of mammon. And so lack and greed can exist in the same person. That's unfortunately why we see such high crime rates in very poor communities of areas of, I live in Detroit. There's an extremely high crime rate of theft and, well, even violent crimes of murder. And a lot of times it's linked to, well, there's drug crimes. There's a lot of drug crimes, but drug dealers, that's an example. I mean, it's easy money. It's easy money. It's not helping anyone. It's not serving anybody. It's easy money. Most of those drug dealers don't even do drugs themselves. They just like deal the drugs and they make extremely good money and at the expense of others. And there are lives that die every day because of this. And it's just really sad to see. Unfortunately, you get CEOs that get really, really greedy, and at the expense of their employees, they just want their large bonus check or payout because of a merger. We saw this with CompuWare in Detroit. They wanted to merge and basically dismantle the company, and all the high-level executives would be getting ridiculous payouts from it, while all the employees got laid off and lost their jobs. That's the sign, like, that's the scary part of greed. It's like, at the expense of others, stop doing that. Or stinginess. Stinginess is just fear, like, you fear, and that's where it's present in both people. Or both of these, lack and greed, can be present in the same people. And the stinginess is a sign, like, because you're afraid of not having enough, you're not living open-handedly and you're not living generously. And so you're not giving and you're not meeting people's needs, even though you do have enough, but because of the fear of running out, you want to keep it for yourself and not live generously. And that's where the stinginess comes in. And it's tough. This is a sensitive topic, and this is a big, big, big one that a lot of people struggle with and fight. And like I said, I can have an entire business on this alone. But I got to move on to the other ones. I talked about the fear of success and fear of failure being present in the same person. They are evil twins that exist often together. All of these are. I talked about that really in depth in the first episode. And to do a quick recap, because I don't want to keep repeating myself in these, but the fear of success is often masqueraded as the fear of failure. So it's misdiagnosed. A person that says they have a fear of failure most likely has a fear of success. They say they have a fear of failure, and they do have a fear of failure, but what's greater is the fear of success, which is also linked to unworthiness issues or feeling like they're not valuable. And for me, it was like, I'm afraid to succeed because I don't want to fall off the mountaintop. I don't think I can survive that kind of fall. So I'm just going to stay in the valley, because that way no one will see the fall. There's not much of a fall. I'm just going to stay small. I'm not going to take as many risks. I'm going to play it safe, because I'd rather not have success and fail. You know, some people can get used to failing, and they no longer, like for me, I got used to many failures, that the fear of it wasn't that big. But then when success came close, after you try and you persevere and you push through and you're finally seeing promises of success, then I started sabotaging. I'm like, wait a minute, I don't know if I'm ready for that. I don't know if I can handle that. And then people think that, that's when people start seeing success and they're excited about it. And someone in their life that's well-meaning, I'm sure they have a good heart, says something like, just make sure that doesn't get to your head. Or make sure you stay humble. And because these people are truly excited about the success they're seeing, because they truly earned it, but because someone they love kind of spoke that fear into them, they were like, oh my gosh, yeah, I don't want to turn into that person. I don't want to be full of myself. I don't want to be prideful. And so then they stop trying, or they don't even celebrate their success because they think it comes off as being arrogant or prideful. And that is not true. Okay, moving on, because gosh, this goes by fast when I go into this. Fear of rejection. This is the final one. Fear of rejection. So there are many clues that a person may struggle with a fear of rejection, to the point that it holds them back from walking in abundance and full life. So here are some symptoms of someone that struggles with a fear of rejection. Self-pity for being alone. You know, if they're left out or excluded, they're not even necessarily left out or excluded. They feel left out or excluded, and then they go through some self-pity for that. Inability to receive correction or constructive feedback because it's perceived as rejection. They conform to what other people think, what they think other people want in order to feel accepted. That's like the chameleon syndrome. They have a fear of confrontation or for asking for what they want in order to avoid the pain of possible rejection. And that was a big one for me. Whenever it came time to promote something or ask for help spreading the word, because I was so afraid of people saying no, I wouldn't even ask. And obviously you can imagine how well my programs were promoted. Not so much, right? And then taking someone's no as a personal rejection rather than that own individual's decision to decline. So once I pushed through that and realized, okay, people may say no. They say no for their own reasons. They say no because they have their own priorities they're working on, and as much as they want to help you, they cannot give the time to do that effectively because they have their own priorities. And it has nothing to do with me. It's not no because I don't like you or no because your product is stupid and I'm not spreading that word and I used to take it that way. It's no because they're too busy right now, or no maybe because they don't know me enough and I have to still establish the trust with them or build that relationship with them. Or maybe they're working on something very, very similar and they're going to promote theirs before they promote mine, which is actually a healthy thing to do. If you're doing almost the exact same thing, you need to feed yourself first before you go and help someone else. And no, that's not selfish to do, like a lot of people think. Anyway, and a lot of times you can collaborate and cross-promote each other because it's not going to be the exact same thing and everyone resonates with different people. So anyway, and the evil twin of fear of rejection is pride. So pride is another really, really sneaky thing that can disillusion people. Just like entitlement or even poverty, all of them are really, really sneaky. Some people like think the blatantly obvious, like pride, are people that are full of themselves, people that are blatantly arrogant, people that just think they are always right, they never apologize, they're always trying to prove their point. They refuse to hear other people's sides, viewpoints, perspectives. Those are the obvious forms of pride. But here's another form of pride that trips people up, especially Christians or anybody of faith, really, that just tries to live with a high character and high integrity. False humility, which is playing small and not accepting compliments for a job well done, or thinking less of yourself. You think little of yourself. That's false humility, and that's a form of pride. And here's why. If God says you are lovable, or you have people in your life that love you, that see something, a truth, that you are talented, you're creative, you are really good at this, and you disagree with them, that's, what did I say? Thinking you're right, putting your opinion or belief, believing you're right and others are wrong. There's that pride. You're disagreeing with them, but it hides itself under a form of false humility. So if God says you're lovable and you disagree with him, saying, no, I'm not, that's pride. You're putting your opinion of yourself higher than what he has said about you. So if you believe you're unlovable, but God says you are, and you choose to believe you're unlovable and disagree with him, that is pride. So that's how they kind of show up. That fear of rejection is like, you can either be over the top. More times that false humility is what shows up with the fear of rejection, more than the flat out pride, because some people can be so full of themselves. And this is the opposite. If you're trying to push through the fear of rejection, you might be like, I don't care what anybody thinks of me. Good. You don't want what other people think of you to dictate what you do and what you believe is true about you. So let's say people think you're stupid and that you're untalented. Then you don't want to agree with that. That's not true. You're not stupid and you are smart and you have what it takes. So there are times where you disagree with others. And most of the time, when you're having to disagree with others, it's because those are the people that are pulling you down. And that's when you need to start agreeing with God. So if you have other people that say, you're going to fail, you don't have enough education or resources or talent to make this work, you're not good enough. And that's honestly are probably not even the voices of other people. That's the voices we tell ourselves. That's when you need to get into alignment. I have everything I need. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. And again, if your faith is not the same as mine, I'm sure you have your own things you do, or I encourage you to have certain things you stand on to carry you through that resistance. For me, I look to the Word of God and I find the promises and the truth, and I remind myself of that truth to push through these lies that say, I'm going to fail, I don't have what it takes, I'm not good enough, I'm not talented enough, I'm not pretty enough, all this stuff, which are complete and total lies. Sometimes people do voice that, and you do need to disagree with them. But when people are speaking good, when they're speaking life, when they're being a light to you, you need to agree with it and receive it and not reject it. And a lot of people just completely flip what they reject and what they receive. They'll receive the bad and reject the good. You need to start rejecting the bad and receive the good. Okay, so this wraps up the second episode of the Mindset series. And I don't even know how many I'll have, but this wraps up at least the second episode of it and talks about the split personality that we fight with and the opposing evil twins of the mindsets that exist within some of us. You may have resonated with all of them. These are the 5 most common ones, and I've had to fight through all of them, including their evil twins. So there's really like 10 instead of 5 that you're fighting. But the more aware you are, my intent is, and the purpose of this is bringing this as awareness to you so you can challenge this, realize what's at work within you when you're pushing through some opposition and when you're struggling. Bring awareness to it and then fight it. And so my next one, that's it, episode 3, is going to be, now that you're aware of it, which is the first step, recognition and awareness, I'm going to walk you through what you can do about it. What do you do with this information now? You identify it in yourself. Now what the heck do you do with it? How do you push through it? How do you fight it? How do you stop letting it have power over you? And so that's what episode 3 is going to be about in this series. And this isn't to say that you never fight it again. It's just teaching you how to slay it and how to win the battle every time it peeks its head up and tries to fight you again. So I still push through this and fight these every day. But I know how to beat it. I know how to beat it, and I know how to win it. And I know what strategies to use to beat it. And so that is what this next episode is going to be about. To learn even further, I'm doing a 1-day deep dive intensive on the Mastering Your Mindset. We go even deeper, and there's going to be a group of people like-minded where we have amazing networking opportunities. There's going to be delicious food available for you, continental breakfast and a lunch. An inspiring keynote speaker is going to be there, and this is going to be a life-changing seminar. You're going to be free. You're going to be able to discuss the things that you're struggling with. You're going to be able to identify some of the things that you have found yourself fighting. And you're going to learn exactly what to do to change it and how to push through it. And you're going to have a group of people supporting you through it and building amazing relationships with people that want you to succeed as bad as you want to succeed. So make sure you check out my Mindset Mastery Seminar found right on the homepage of my website. Just click the image right up on top. It'll take you to the page. You can learn more about it. And just feel free to email me at stephanie@movedbypurpose.net for more information if you have any questions. And I'll talk to all of you guys next week. And most of the time, when you're having to disagree with others, it's because those are the people that are pulling you down. And that's when you need to start agreeing with God.